So I was thinking about chronos, like from the Greek. And then I was thinking of synchronicity, chronos, chrono. And I looked that stuff up. And then a friend of mine the other night said, the light reveals everything that is not the light. And I think that is true in this world. It's like a interesting reality, I guess. I don't know, but whatever that is. But the only things that we see in this world are things that the light, hits, strikes, or is less absorbed by, and things that it doesn't pass through so easily, that sort of thing. But I'm thinking that, since we are more space than we are matter, probably much more is flowing through us than we realize. And the physical body and the spiritual body are not the same. So I don't know. So I'm looking at a full moon here today. Full moon in Aries, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. And been meditating on a couple of speeches that are coming up. One is for the Twin Cities Prison Ministry on the 21st, and 3 of us will be talking about forgiveness on our panel. We'll each have 10 to 15 minutes, and the following week, I'll be speaking for the Minnesota Corrections Association, and there I'll get about an hour for my breakout session. And I titled the speech, We're all in this together. So I'm trying to put together a speech for that as well as for the prison ministry. And prison ministry, I'll probably tell a few short stories. I want to set the stage for when I forgave my abuser and how Mary Jo Robinson was involved in that process. And I thought about, talking about the dream I had when I was 19 years old about the 12-step program long before I was in it. And where part of the dream, this like fire water droplets came down out of the sky and splashed on this little wall in the middle of a field. And the wall had no reason to be there. It's like, why is there a little wall in the middle of the open area in a field? And I never really questioned that part of it until now. Interesting. But the wall is maybe, I don't know really how big it was. It looked like maybe it was 6 or 8 feet wide, maybe 4 or 5 feet tall. And out of that shale stone, where they layer stones on top of each other, and they go back, they just layer them up and they make a wall out of this rock. And sometimes it's just gravity, but they usually put cement or something in between them. But in this dream, I think the rocks were there just set up, And as the fire water energy came down out of the sky at a 45-degree angle, it was like fire water colors, every color imaginable. it was like a living fire or something, and it was splashing into this wall and being absorbed by the wall. And as it kept doing that, slowly but surely, some image was forming, and the images were words. Eventually 4 words became legible, became readable, and they were glowing all these different colors and getting stronger and weaker and stronger and weaker, but they got more and more readable. And then finally it was 4 words: the Lord, the top 2 words, and then underneath it is coming. So, and there's a lot more to the dream, but I woke up, later after some other things had happened in the dream too. But, the whole dream is just really memorable to me, even to this day. And I felt like it was a vision from God about my future, about my life or something. And I don't not understand the entirety of it until this day. Some of the things seem like it's clear, but when I had my abuser reach out to me through a loved one, and he wanted to make amends, it terrified me, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to sit down and talk with him. I didn't, because I was afraid of my own reaction. I was scared I was going to attack him, or I didn't know if I was going to kill him or hurt him, or if I was going to forgive him. I didn't know. I didn't feel predictable, and I was terrified too of him. But I talked to Mary Jo about it, and she said I have to do it. And I thought she was going to say, you don't have to meet him, it's okay. But no, she says you got to do it. And I said, what do you mean? She says, well, anytime someone wants to get well, we got to let them. No one has a right to be an obstacle to someone getting well. You have to do it. So I agreed to do it, and I really still didn't want to. And I asked, everyone in my home AA group to pray for me, and all my friends on the internet. I sent out all these emails. I didn't have social media back then, and maybe there was MySpace, but I don't think I asked anything there. And I called my friends, and I talked about it with lots of people, met with people, and I had a lot of people praying for me. And so when I went to meet with them, Mary Jo said she's willing to go with, and I said, sure, let's do it. I'd be glad to have you there, and she's a Christian counselor, and she could, she wanted things to stay square, so nobody was beating up on anyone. We would meet in a public place, and that way it would be less likelihood of someone acting out. And so as we were sitting in front of the men's, the steakhouse, the Minnesota Steakhouse, or whatever the name of the place was, I was just scared to death. I was rocking back and forth, and I was praying, and Mary Jo was sitting next to me, and we're waiting for him to show up. And she kept saying, somebody would come in, and she'd look up and say, is that him? And I'd look up, and no, it's not him. It's somebody. Every time somebody came in, she'd say, is that him? Is that him? And I just wanted to tell her to shut the F up, at some point, because every time she said that, the adrenaline surged through my body. And but then she said, is that him? And something was different around me. Something had shifted, and I sensed it, and I slowly looked up toward the person that she's talking about. There was actually the abuser and my family member that came along. And as soon as my eyes rested on the offender, while I was looking up, there was this energy coming down out of the sky. It's like There's something palpable that I could feel and see at the same time coming down out of the sky at a 45-degree angle as I was looking up. And it was, as I was looking up, I could see that, and I was looking toward him, but in my peripheral, I could see it was that fire water raining down from heaven, you know. And as soon as my eyes landed on the abuser, all that energy went right into my heart, you know, and my heart was filled with love for him, which was impossible for me to do myself. It wasn't there. I didn't manufacture it. I might have been ready for it. Otherwise I wouldn't have got it. Who knows what ready means? God does. I don't, but evidently, you know, maybe, who knows? And I was astounded. I was at total peace. And he came up and, you know, and we went into the restaurant and sat down, ordered some food, and he started, you know, saying he was sorry and stuff like that. And he explained a little bit. And, you know, I thought, well, this is kind of a meager apology in my estimation, you know. And I was going to say something kind of harsh, and I was in my mind at this point, you know. But here's the thing, is right when he got done making his amends or making his statement stuff, he looked down and says, "What, do you hate me now?" And I said, "No, I love you." And it was sincere from that place of that gift of love that it was given to me earlier. And when I said it, those words, he started choking and coughing like he was gagging, like he was trying, like the spirit that was in him was at risk of being exorcised, if you will. You know, it's the strangest thing, but I knew that something was trying to come out of him. And that statement of love was doing it. And he struggled so hard to keep that spirit in him. And he did it. And he managed to hold on to it, you know. He could have been free of all that. You know, I mean, God's will be done and everything. But, you know, I wanted to talk about that in the Twin Cities prison ministry about forgiveness, because that's my focus. And so I only have 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm not sure how long it took to tell those parts. And I thought about, you know, so the dream, and when I was 19, just the part about the fire water, and then, you know, meeting with him and that coming down, you know, so the Spirit of God was put into my heart to from love from heaven. And you know, I feel like if I was allowed to, if love was placed in my heart to forgive him, then maybe God forgives me too for things I've done in my life. So, you know, and Mary Jo got to be a piece of this whole thing. And when I was going to say something nasty, the guy, well, not nasty, but on the verge of, you know, borderline kind of stressful thing to say, she stopped me. She gave me that look, you know, and I eased back and just accepted it and went with the flow to the best of my ability. And you know, I said it did impact me. It did have some long-standing feelings that were hard for me to deal with. But, you know, I thanked him for stepping up. And so anyway, and then with the state of Minnesota corrections, you know, the I am another you is basically the idea of we're all in this together. And if we could get it in our heads that we are all more similar than we are dissimilar on the inside, then it might be possible to heal the broken system. And, so, and then I'd go into my story and what I used to be like, what happened and what I'm like now, and the different factors that went into helping me heal in the long run as an ex-offender, because all these people will be POs and stuff. So, and people that work for the state in various capacities. All right, there's my full moon overview of where I want to go with all this stuff. Peace out.